Hey folks, this is your second video, so welcome to part two. I got cut off. So I just wanted to take a couple minutes to go over tips and outlines and ways to start writing the personal statement for the Foundation Scholarship here at South Seattle. So before I do that, I just want to say I want to go back to the alternative grading system, and I will put a grade on your homework, your quizzes, your editorial essays, right? So a grade will appear, but do know that ultimately you are self-assessing your own work. So just know that like a grade will appear, but it is your job to self-assess your own learning. More on that a little later. Okay, so let's start with the personal statement. Again, you have a lot of readings and tips here. So there may be just like a deluge of information. So let me break some of this down. So think of it as this way. We're working on our narrative skills, our descriptive skills, describing sort of your story. One of your jobs here is to tell a story, right? So in this reading, the outline for how to write a compelling personal statement, we'll just go through this a little bit. You know, what story should you tell? There's a lot of ways to approach this. Think of it this way. It's too generic, it's too general to say, you know, I want to study math here at South Seattle. Okay, you have to go beyond that. You have to be more descriptive. You have to describe, well, what do you mean? What are you saying? So tell a story. So instead of just saying, you know, I'm a math major here at South Seattle, I don't know anything beyond that, you could be like, well, you know, I got into math by first, my parents gave me a computer and I took the computer apart and then I put the computer back together again. And that's when I knew I liked computer science or I really wanted to get into computers. So do you see how that's a story rather than like, I like computers or I like math? So you need to, that's called showing versus telling. So you want to give the scholarship audience a image, a visual, something that they can see and feel and touch and smell. It doesn't have to do all those, but it should do one or two of those. So again, it's the difference between I want to study computers versus, you know, I got into this because I took apart a computer and put it back together and I could feel all the parts and I knew I loved working with computers and I wanted to go into computer science. And then, you know, you also need to describe your major and what you want to do, what your ultimate goal is with that major. And again, you have to describe that. You can't just be like, I want to be a computer science major. Okay, like what do you want to do ultimately? What is your goal? How far do you want to go? So instead of just saying, I want to study computer science at South, this scholarship would really help me continue this degree, you could say something like, you know, my ultimate goal with this degree here at South is to transfer to the UW and get my bachelor's and then maybe my majors in computer science, my master's, and I want to sort of use math and computer science to build the next generation of climate change models, right? Which use math, right? Think of all the modeling for weather and hurricanes. That's all based on math, right? Computer science. So do you see how I told a story, a very clear, descriptive, precise story about what I want to do with my, you know, studying math here at South and where that's going to take me, where that can let me go, okay? Or, okay, you know, I'm in welding here at South. End of story. No, right? I'm studying welding here at South, and my ultimate goal is to really build the critical infrastructure of America, right? Our bridges, our roads, our buildings are failing, right? I want to be a welder so I can go to the next level and build America, right? That's a story, right, that you can see. That's a story that you can feel. So that is part of your job for this personal statement, is to show your story, okay? So go through, right, all of these tips, these readings. You'll see that there's one of them is for drafting the personal statement, the 4 steps of the writing process, researching, pre-writing, draft, and then revision. So let me break that down for just a moment. So let's say you're at the research level, right? What do you research for this personal statement? Well, there's a couple things you can do. So for example, what's the mission of South Seattle? And how will your major and where you want to go with your major and your degree, how will that hit the mission of this college, right? So you could invoke the mission, right? I really plan to fulfill the mission of this college by, you know, going all the way and again making using computer science to build the next generation of climate models and modeling based on math, right? And that really hits the mission of it's a big mission, right? So you could break down one of the pieces of their mission, right? Global workforce, global connect. There's so much there. Okay, right. So you may have to do a little research for this, right? What are fields of study, right? If you don't know, right? If you're just like, oh, geography, oh, welding, oh, culinary, right? Like break that down, right? So look up on Indeed. Indeed is a sort of a place for job listings, and it really describes like what jobs are and actually do. You could go to Indeed and look up jobs within your major and see what they actually do, right? So you could describe them a little bit more in more detail. Okay, so pre-writing, right? You want to brainstorm here. You want to just let your pen or your fingers go crazy on the keyboard. If you can't get started, there's a really great brainstorming worksheet in this reading, right? You could start at the personal, the community, the academic, or the professional, right? And just start really just writing out, even in single words, where do you stand out in terms of the personal, the community, the academic, the professional, right? Just to generate some ideas, so then you could turn into a thematic idea for a paragraph to answer these prompts of the scholarship questions. So, right, if you get stuck, I would just fill out this worksheet, right? And that can help you, give you an idea to answer the questions. Okay, so that's what I mean by drafting. And then editing and revising, we're going to hold off on that. We're going to work a little bit on that through peer review, and you'll get my comments. So you'll get feedback from classmates and colleagues and my feedback too. Okay, so that's that reading. And I think that's all I wanted to say right now. I think the last thing is I really like this idea of the personal statement needs to show your reflection. You're reflecting on yourself, you're reflecting on your journey, your academic career, your life journey. So that's what a good personal statement does, is it really is reflective. It doesn't just, tell your experience, but it shows how, a lesson, right, helped you grow, or an experience turned you into the person that you are, right? It describes that process. Think of that as process writing or descriptive writing, right? How did I get to be this person? How did my experience shape me? Okay, so I think that's the last major tips. There's so many tips here. Try not to get overwhelmed, right? Take what's helpful. Don't take what's helpful. There's a lot here. So use your best judgment in writing the personal statement. You know best. Okay, so thank you, folks. Email me if you have any questions. Bye.